Guys, welcome to our very first episode of our Art and Psychology series. Today we're going to talk about squares. We're going to learn how to harness its power and how to understand it. So without any further ado, let's dig in. Okay guys, here you are. Welcome to the first episode of Art and Psychology, where we learn how to harness the power of squares. Well, as you notice, I've actually put the characteristics here into two sections, green and red. In my opinion, the green is the strength points and the red is weakness points. It shouldn't necessarily be like that, but that's how I see them. It's only my opinion. So, let's start with the first characteristic, which is strength or way. Do actually squares make things look heavy or strong? Let's look into that. I have an example here. Let's check it out. Well, as you can see here, there are two shapes. A square or rectangle, it's actually almost the same, and a ball or a circle. So I'm gonna ask you this: what if I took these two shapes and I throw you in the face with one of them? I mean, separately each time. Which one would make you feel a bit more hurt? Which one would you think will hurt you more? Is it this rectangle or the circle? Which one does seem or look heavier to you? Is it the circle or the square? Well, right now you don't really know what these shapes are. Well, the rectangle could be a piece of paper, you don't know. But just look at the shape as it is. Which one does give you the feeling of strength or being heavy? Well, if you got the answer right, put it down in the comments. I would like to know, guys, what you felt or what you thought you felt. So, yeah. Well, actually, squares represent strength, even though, look here, these shapes were actually a boulder and a wrecking ball. Well, they could actually vary in terms of, way, but naturally we as humans perceive squares as something strong, something heavy, something structured and balanced. We'll come to that. I'll give you another example, but this time as a piece of art. I want you to look at this beautiful artwork by Dolzev. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but anyway, this great artist has made such a magnificent piece. Let alone these horns or these tiny, let me just select this. Yeah, if you look at this photo or drawing, if you look at the bigger picture, it actually looks like a big square, doesn't it? If you break it down, we have one here, and then these are the legs. But if you look at it like in a bigger picture, it looks like a very big bulky square, which actually gives a bulky look, strong look. That's what makes this character look strong. Let alone these dangerous spikes on his shoulder and hands, or the sword as well. The bigger picture or the bigger shape actually convey weight and strength. That was the main purpose, as I believe, in this artwork, to convey strength. Well, you can imagine just taking one blow of this creature. It will really tear you apart. Well, that's how actually squares, you can find actually other like examples of squares in environment art, concept art. Usually squares convey something that is strong and heavy. Even in in heroes actually. Look at Batman's jaw. Look at Superman face or jaw. It's completely square. It conveys that of a masculine look or more manly look. Usually men with like wider jaws are perceived as strong and more masculine. Well, that's it for the strength. Let's look into the other point. And in here it is balance. Well, as you notice, square by itself is actually balanced. But how does it affect us psychologically when we look at artworks or designs? Does it give us a sense of balance or a feeling of like something is really balanced? Let's check it out. Okay, let's check this. I want you to look at this picture. Look carefully. if you notice here, the composition is actually wonderful. So if we applied the rule of third in here, let me just select the layer. So if we applied the rule of third in here, just roughly, you'll notice our points of interest are main here, which is the flag and this girl, right? Well, I don't want you to think about this right now. What I want you to look at carefully is actually how this piece or photograph is actually divided. Let me make this easier for you to look. How this piece is actually divided into three sections. 1, 2, 3. This looks like pillars that hold the scene together. So first we look in here because of contrast first, and then the composition that the photographer wanted to achieve here. Then we look into this character. But what we want to look at here right now is the balance that gives this photo its strength. It looks really balanced. Well, imagine if it was like this. Let me erase all of that. Well, imagine this. Let's make it black here. Yeah, I hope this is clear to see. So imagine it was like this. It wouldn't feel more balanced. I mean, imagine these walls were like this and the window was somewhere in here. It wouldn't look really balanced, right? Well, again, I don't want you to think in terms of like real life and structures. I want you to think in terms of psychology. What feeling does it give you? I mean, if the photo was structured like this, imagine that these sections are walls or rocks, and here in the middle is our like point of interest, which is the girl with the flag in the window. It will look more energetic, right? It would look more uneasy. It will give us an uneasy feeling, right? Well, that's what I mean by balance. So certainly squares actually give balance to pictures, photos, designs, whatever you look at. It's actually a visual language. Whatever you can see has a language. Well, that's for balance. Let's jump off to the third characteristic, which is in our case here is order. Well, since squares are strong and are balanced, they convey as well a sense of order, and characteristics a sense of responsibility. Let's look at examples of that. I want you to look at this example of Superman. Of course, you all remembered Superman, who has like 2 lives as a superhero and as a journalist, as I remember. Yeah, of course, all of you know that. Well, I want you to look at him right now, and let's actually break this down together. Look at his face. The way his face was designed was actually to not only convey masculinity, since it's a square also convey masculinity, but also the hat and the whole body actually represents a big square or cube. This gives us the feeling that this man is responsible. Yes, strong, but also responsible and ordered. He has a full control in his life. Well, even this newspaper actually gives so much to the scene. Again, we're not talking in terms of like ideas or designs. We're talking in terms of shapes, purely shapes. I mean, we're not talking about colors, values, anything else. We're just talking about shapes. How do they make us feel? If you note this scene, actually, it has like a bunch of squares, including the character and the newspaper he's holding. Everything in there, almost even the chair, is a square. Well, since the character itself is built by squares, it gives us a real deep feeling of responsibility and order. I wouldn't talk much in this. I think it's a bit clear. If it's not, just drop me a comment below and I'll answer all of your questions. Well, that's it for the responsibility. Well, okay, let's go back. As you can see here, we've talked about the 3 advantages or the strength points of squares. Let's talk about the weakness points. Well, in my opinion, there are weaknesses only if they were used excessively, and if they were only used like alone. I mean, if the photo was filled with squares, nothing but squares. It will give us such feelings. Let me show you an example. Yeah, boring. Imagine a drawing or a design that consists only of squares. I mean, purely squares. You could say building, yes. A window, only a window, nothing else, no character, nothing. It would look a bit boring because squares actually don't hold much of energy. It's only if the scene was actually filled with squares entirely. What about this rigid? Well, anything that is bulky and rectangular looks rigid. Well, it's not a weakness if you want to use it. I mean, if you want to like build a character that looks strong, or if you want to draw a big giant that's rocky and made of rock, well, it will be an advantage because you want it to be rigid, you want it to be stiff, you want it to be heavy as well. So it's up to you and how you want to use it. Could be an advantage or a weakness. Well, that's all. I hope you really got benefit from this. If you have any further questions, let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer all of you guys. That's all. Okay guys, hope that was beneficial for you, and if you have any other thoughts or ideas, be sure to put them down in the comments. I'll be really happy to look at them and reply to all of you guys. And if you liked the video, of course hit that like button and be sure to subscribe. Stay tuned for other episodes. We're going to talk about other shapes in the future and other stuff that relates to art and psychology. So, see you all by then.